You are now listening to episode 100 of the No Shame in My Name podcast. My name is Theresa Lola, and the name I'll be bringing is Theresa.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Theresa. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I guess go from the beginning with the question that I ask all my guests is, why are you bringing the name Theresa? Do you know the story and the meaning behind your name?
So Theresa was given to me by my mother, and I'm named after Theresa of Avila, who's a saint, who was a saint in the 15 to 1600s. And the reason I'm bringing that name is it's my middle name, but it's a name I've probably had longer than my first name. I started going by Theresa when I was at university. So about 10 years now, but it's a name that I've come to associate with my profession as a writer and also the becoming of myself. So it's a name that I think really honors who I am now. Most people know me by that name, while my family still call me by my Yoruba Nigerian name.
Okay, very interesting. And the meaning of the name,
Yes.
can you talk to me about the meaning?
So Teresa means harvester, but that particular name I was given not necessarily for the meaning, but because of the woman behind the name. So Teresa of Avila was a saint, and she was just a really determined woman. She had this like rugged determination about her. She lost her mother quite young, and that just kind of changed something in her. But also she was fascinating in a time when, women were not really in the front lead or writing in that way. She was a writer. And I remember one of her books, she prefaces it by talking about her hesitancy to write and how she was really doing it from a place of obedience, and how of all the things she's been commanded to do, writing was the most difficult of them. But she felt like in that obedience, she was given this grace and power to do things that were impossible. And it's something I think about now. I mean, when I became a writer, I decided to become a writer, I wasn't thinking about her, but now it's just interesting seeing those parallels and that lesson of whatever you've been called to do. If that is your calling, you'll be given a grace to do it in a way that otherwise wouldn't have been possible, because it's a calling bigger than yourself. So yeah, I was named after her because of just who she represented, just this strong-willed woman and what she did for the church at the time. Yeah.
Amazing. And I think, going off my own experience, I kind of discovered my name as I grew up, asking my parent, "Oh, why did you call me this? Why did you call my siblings this?" Was the meaning and the story behind your name, did it surface as you were writing your book, which we'll talk about a bit later, or has it been something that's been instilled in you since you were a child?
Yeah, I never really talked about the meaning behind my name wasn't a conversation I had with my parents. It just wasn't a curiosity I necessarily had until I was writing my collection ceremony for the Nameless, because it was so rooted in names. I had to understand the meaning of mine to, I guess, see how maybe my name in some way might have been prophetic, or how I'm in conversation with my name, or living in contrast to what the name means. All of those things. So yeah, I was having a conversation with my mom about the meaning of my first name, the meaning of my second name, who gave me those names, because in Yoruba culture, different people in your family, tend to contribute names. And I guess you have an idea of what someone thought about you and who they thought you were going to be based on the name that they brought to the table. So it was through the book I started looking into Theresa and who she was, and all of these things, and how much faith was imbued in all my names. So my first Yoruba name, it literally means God has given me wealth, and you find that in a lot of cultural names where God is in that name. But it's interesting seeing that Teresa, that I saw as maybe a name that was just not necessarily connected to the faith in any way. I just knew it meant harvester, but I didn't know that I was named after this woman Teresa, and just how faith is something that is so rooted in all my names. And I guess this is the strongest power of all. Faith and love are two of the strongest things that we carry. So that's what I wanted to bring into the book as I was writing, and really think about who I am in relation to those things.
Wow, beautiful. Faith and love, they're very powerful themes throughout the book. There's one poem that I want to speak about.
Okay.
Um, My Name is My Home.
My Name is My Home. I'll pick up
Yes.
my book because I've got my book here. So My Name is My Home was actually the first poem I wrote in the collection when I didn't know this was what it was going to be. And I think that's the best kind of books, is ones where well, for me anyways, is you write it thinking it's going to be one thing and it ends up that the book just kind of guides you into what it wants to be. So when I wrote this poem, I realized that it was going to be a book about names. This poem is about my first name. It's not about Theresa, but it's still about names in general, about the pronunciation of names. But it opens with a Yoruba proverb, which translates to, you do not name a child unless you know the condition of the home into which they are born. My name is my home. Every time someone mispronounces my name, they break its windows, dirty the floors, replace things, take things. In a secondary school in Bromley, my Yoruba name pronounced Fumi is bent into Funmi, and so are the house rules. They enter my name with a litter of confetti. In a different school, a girl calls me Fanny, claims it sounds similar. I don't resist, watch her strip clothes from my room, her small hand splinter my wardrobe back to a wooden idea. In another school, I remove the N in the spelling of my name, mistake what is subtle for what is silent, go by Fumi instead of Fumi. Then I remember what the letter N means to my skin folk, the weapon-shaped word it carries. So I grab the N back and fill the roof inside my name, reposition itself. At university, I switched to my middle name, but graduation reveals our full names, make sure our true selves are rewarded. On this day, my full name, Olufumilola, meaning Olu, God, Fun, give, me, Ola, wealth, is twisted into Olufoni Ola by lecturer. The staircase inside my name flattens into a trampoline, alters the way my prayers reach for heights. Every time someone mispronounces my name, they disrupt its foundations, replace things, break things. Now I'm left with no choice but to build spike gates, position armed guards. I must shield my name.
Thank you very much for sharing. I love that poem. Can we talk about the proverb, my name is my home? What does that mean to you?
That's a really good question. I think my name is my home. When I think about home, I think about origin, I think about safety, I think about covering. And my name is, my name is something that tells me that one, that I exist. Like you literally cannot exist without a name. And also it tells me I'm covered by something, my name specifically, that the people who have given me these names are people that love me, are people that wished well for me, are people that, the names that they specifically picked are names that have good qualities in them. And so they're names that are prophetic. So, and these are people that are part of my family. And home is also, when I think about home, I think about family, I think about tenderness, I think about nurturing. It's literally a place where you sleep and rest. And these are people that, my mom, my grandma, these are people that nurtured me when I was young. And so my name literally reminds me of that. Now I've moved out of my home, like the home that I grew up in, but my name reminds me of my origins, of where I was nurtured and where I was sheltered. And yeah, place that reminds me of home.
So your middle name, Theresa.
Yes.
You have a poem in the collection, My Name's Converse.
Yes, I do.
And that's a dialogue between
my Yoruba first name and my English middle name.
Okay.
Just, both of them conversing, because I guess as poets you always have weird ideas of how to bring poems to life, but it's because these names are literally two versions of myself, and I thought what better way to have that conversation than to literally have them be in dialogue with each other.
And also, sorry, in the collection you have so many different themes. You explore friendship, love, I guess adopting your husband's marital
surname,
name. So many themes, but like, how did you bring it all together? And like, in terms of, did you start writing the poem first, or were names the central focus, and from that you drew out all of these themes?
The book came together in different ways. I think as I was writing it, life happens to you, like things are happening in your life, and if the book is calling for that experience to be solidified in the conversation. So obviously the book, it starts with a naming ceremony, literally starts with my origin. But as I was writing the collection, I was getting married, and I was having these conversations about changing my surname. And naturally, it's just something that was current. And, books are yes, they're set in a time and place. They have to be timeless in what they explore, and that exploration of your identity changing and using names to almost change how you are seen and identified. Those were conversations I was having, so it had to come in. But in terms of tying those different themes together, it's names was the central thing, but the expansive idea around names is identity. It's about how it connects you with people. It's about lineage. It's about family. It's also about power as well. You know, when you take someone else's surname, who names you is who has the power. And so those are all the conversations around names that are just I guess, the nucleus of it. But there's a lot of things that are formed as a result of names. And that's really what the collection is about. Names on its own, they're not interesting. It's what they bring about that makes a book.
So good. You speak so well. Oh my gosh. It makes sense that you're putting.
I'm like, what the heck are you saying?
I'm like, the words are literally dancing in front of me now.
Oh gosh.
But
Thank you.
I was gonna say, do you have, I guess you've written like more than say 40, 50 poems in this collection.
Yeah.
Do you have a poem that like is very fun to you? I know it's like almost picking your favorite child, but
It changes depending on what mood I'm in. I really, oh gosh, that's a really hard one. I would say two poems, Wrestling with God, because they're so different. Wrestling with God, it's a short poem, but it feels like a prayer, and it's a poem about when you're praying before God, and you know, when you're at church and the pastor's like, say your name in your prayer. It's like, what name comes to mind? And I feel like that's the name that you feel safest in. What name comes to mind when you're yearning and pleading with God for something? So I like that poem because it's very meditative. But the poem that I'm most fond of, which is to answer your question, I'd probably say it's Carousel of Oilsheen, which is a specular poem. So a specular poem is a poem that is on two sides of the page and it's a mirror poem. So you write it one way and on the other side of the page, you can read it backwards. And I love that poem because it's really playful. It's basically set in a hair salon in Lagos, but also a hair salon in Woolwich, London, and how similar those two experiences are. And I love it because it was just, I guess, having fun with the craft. Because when you're crafting as an artist, it can feel very serious and technical. But this was one of the few poems where the poem that came as a result of it is just so playful, and I really enjoy performing it. So that would be my poem this one.
amazing. What do you want people to know about names and about your collection, Ceremony for the Nameless?
Wow. What I want people to know about names. I'm always hesitant to be prescriptive as people read the book because you're going to read it at different spaces in your life. But I'd say ultimately it's that names are how you feel about your name says a lot about who you are. And I think whether you're reflecting or meditating on things, your relationship with your name can tell you a lot about who you are, who you want to be, what you're trying to resist, what you're trying to work towards, all of those things. So I think paying attention to our names can reveal things about us that we otherwise wouldn't have. But also that names are powerful, and being very cautious about what we choose to name things, and whether it's our children or labeling relationships. There's issue upon about situationships, but the things that we choose to label and name things are really important, and being cautious about how we bring things to life with our names, whether in familial situations, in friends, in business, whatever it is. A name is, words are powerful, and a name is just one of the ways that we capture our lineage, in different ways outside of family.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a very short conversation. But where can people find you and what you're up to?
Oh, where people can find me, social media is always the easiest place. So at Theresa_Lola, and Theresa is with a H, Theresa. And what I'm up to, writing, creating, as always. So writing my next book at the moment. So it's been good to be in a slightly different world with that book. But also I launched something called Your Envoi, which is Your and ENVOI, and it's a wellness literary brand. So using poetry inspired approaches to design guided journals and conversation cards, and it's still thinking creatively, but expanding that, and how poetry generally can help us transform and see ourselves differently and see the world differently. And so that was just, your Unravel was just a way to continue that conversation.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think,
Thank you.
yeah, I think that's it. I think it's a wrap. Thank you.
Yeah. Poem is titled Wrestling with God. Genesis 32:27. So God said to him, "What is your name?" He said, "Jacob." When the days collapse and the sun is fasting from your face, you bow with grey moon flesh to plead, "God, it's me." There's a name of yours you utter reflexively, the name that knows the weight of your hefty spirit, a listener to your tossing thoughts, a name that makes you sigh at its resilience, the name God catches your attention with when he wants to offer you peace, the kind the world can't give.